This woman was not only responsible for one of the biggest poisoning scandals of 17th century France, but may also have been an unwitting protégé of Julia Tofana. Hello, I'm Sinead from the Poisonous Cabinet podcast. Marquise de Brinvilliers is suspected of killing up to 50 people, mainly because they stood in her way of shagging who she wanted to and spending their money on shagging more people and parties. Born into a very well-to-do family in 1630, the French Marie Madeleine Marguerite de Brinvilliers was a beautiful and rather spoiled young woman. Her father, of course, had ideas on who she should marry. He selected a gentleman that would suit her standing in society. The man chosen was Antoine Gobelin. Does sound like Goblin, you're right. But he was also a compulsive gambler and known to be a very weak-willed and generally unpleasant man. Unsurprisingly, young Marie de Madeleine, only 21 years old, was not too happy in her marriage, so she started casting her eyes about for some fun. And she found it in the shape of one of her husband's friends, Captain Gaudin Sainte-Croix. I hope you're enjoying all of these French accents. Marie and the captain started a very public affair, but then Marie's father got involved. This public affair just would not do, and he arranged to have Captain Sainte-Croix arrested. The lovers were apparently in Marie's carriage when the officers came, tore the man from her arms, and threw him into the Bastille for 6 weeks. Now, Daddy clearly thought that this would be enough time for Marie to calm down, but no, she was furious, insulted, enraged that her father had put a stop to her lovely affair, and she was going to have revenge. And as luck would have it, the captain had been imprisoned with a very useful cellmate. It was said that the captain was sharing a cell with Exili, a notorious Italian poison expert who was said to hold the secret to Aqua Tofana. Some even say he obtained it from Julia Tofana herself. I don't know if the dates work out on that, but it's a good story. Yes, Aqua Tofana, the legendary poison that was a combination of various toxins, the secret ingredients to which no one really knows. But you could use this poison to deliver death in a matter of days, of weeks, of months, if you got the dosage right. And so Sainte-Croix brought this directly to his lover on his release. Whatever the truth of the captain's imprisonment, it did seem that the pair of lovers had obtained a particular kind of poison that required experiment and very, very careful administration. This spelt very bad news for some people in hospital nearby. Marie was determined to get rid of her father, but she was going to use the patients at a nearby hospital for the poor and needy as her guinea pigs. She and her lover had set up a laboratory, apparently in the grounds of her father's estate, to perfect their poison, and they would go and experiment on the patients in the hospital, giving them sweet treats and kind gifts to ease their pain, all the while noting how quickly they fell ill and how quickly the poison had the desired effect. She did this over many months. It wasn't until 1666 that she perfected the final poison to deliver to her father, and he succumbed. Her father wasted away thanks to the multiple administrations of poison, and Marie received a handsome settlement following his death. But the money never lasts long when you're a greedy, greedy bitch. In the subsequent years, she also did away with her 2 brothers in order to get more of their money, and was considering killing their wives as well. She also apparently poisoned her husband several times, but then gave him an antidote because she felt bad about it, even though she still had her lover on the side, but he somehow got through this. The fact is, no one suspected Marie of any wrongdoing at the hospital or at her home because she was a woman of noble birth. Noble people simply didn't commit such crimes. But things all fell down for Marie in 1672 when her lover, Sainte-Croix, died of a sudden illness. Sainte-Croix had helpfully kept all the letters between him and Marie detailing all of their lovely poisoning experiments. He was also massively in debt to several people, so when the debt collectors came to his house, they found not only the letters, but a big old box of poison, and they had questions for Marie. Marie was arrested, and so were a couple of servants who had helped them to poison her family. The servants did not meet a good end. One of them in particular, even after confessing his part in the poisoning scheme, was broken on the wheel. Now, if you think she was going to get off easy because she was of noble birth, she was, and she really wasn't. She did state that it was all her lover's idea, and she had been an unwilling participant in it all. Didn't really work out for her. She was found guilty of multiple murders, and she was sentenced to be beheaded and burned. She would be beheaded before she was burned, so that was a small mercy. except that they had more questions for her. They decreed that she would face a water cure and be asked the ordinary question. The ordinary question entailed them asking her about her crimes while she was bent backwards over an arched piece of equipment and then force-fed massive amounts of water. She was also apparently asked the extraordinary question, which was the same set of questions but just more water and more bending backwards. Marie had said that she would confess to anything rather than face the torture, but she still underwent it for 4 hours and revealed apparently next to no new information. Marie was subsequently executed in July 1676, but her story sent shockwaves through France. Poison had previously been thought of something that only the Italians did, but now it was in France, and noble people could use it and wield it and die from it? It would all lead to the discovery of even more crazy poisoners operating in France, and the so-called Affair of the Poisoners. But that's a story for another video. You can listen to the full story of the Marquise de Brinvilliers and the various forms of torture that were used against poisoners on our podcast. Broken on the Wheel, Water Cure, it's all awful.